At one point, I was laying on the bathroom floor saying, "Fine, do you want me to quit? Do you just want me to give up and go home?" A few years back, my dad told me that Jeff Stanton was putting together an adventure trip up north in northern Michigan. And it was a little bit out of reach, but I knew that that was something going on the bucket list for sure. Now, if you clicked on this video, odds are you know who Jeff Stanton is. But if you don't, he is a 6-time national supercross and motocross champion. And that makes him pretty much one of the best riders to ever swing a leg over a motorcycle. As time went by, I'd check their Instagram from time to time and watch their riding videos. But I really didn't do much research on what the experience was all about. I just, like riding. So I watch their riding videos. A few short years later, though, I had the pleasure to meet Jeff and chatting with him some. He ended up inviting me up to experience a day of riding with Jeff Stanton Adventures. And I was over the moon, to be honest with you. I was super excited. This was going to be just so cool. Number one, incredible riding and incredible, like one of my favorite places in the whole world, northern Michigan. And number two, riding with Jeff Stanton. I remember getting autographs from this guy at the Silverdome when I was 10, 11 years old. I was super excited. So, as most guys probably do, I started frantically packing the night before, and I think I brought everything. I packed cold weather gear, warm weather gear, couple sets of gloves, enough clothes to stay for a month, all my camera gear, every bit of lighting I owned. I jammed everything into my little Saab convertible, and I started heading up north. Now, as it turned out, packing all that gear was beneficial because May was a pretty warm month here in Michigan. It was mid 70s for most of it, and then this weekend it snapped back to cold. So it was 40 degrees in the daytime, 30 degrees at night, and I was very happy that I don't travel light. Now, I should have done more homework because I had no idea what to expect from this ranch. To me, anything more than a rain-soaked pup tent and eating cold beans from a can is pretty good for a motorcycle trip. But this lodge was incredible. Had it not been for the line of brand new Triumph motorcycles gleaming in the sun out front, I would have thought I was in the wrong place. So, I got out of the car and immediately just hit with the smell of pines, and there's a couple birds chirping, and just looking around the forest, and I just started feeling really nostalgic. Northern Michigan's a really special place, and especially when you're a motorcyclist. The next thing that hit me, though, was the eerie stillness of the entire scene. There was nobody around. There was no cars in the main parking lot. There wasn't even any wind blowing. Just stillness and this row of beautiful motorcycles. So I looked the bikes over a little bit, and then I head inside. And although I'm confident I'm in the right place, still the lack of people and anything happening is kind of like, it's just a little weird. But finally I go in, and I'm greeted by a young lady who is extremely nice and checks me in and shows me to my room. And this is pretty much where any and all expectations just start getting shattered. I hear hunting lodge and I think of a one-room shack with a bunch of bunk beds, but this place was something else. It was beautiful. Now, as it turned out, I had just arrived before everybody else, and that's why everything was so still and calm. Jeff had to pick up a couple guys at the airport, and then the 3 other guys actually rode up from Pennsylvania on their own bikes, which I thought was pretty cool. That's pretty awesome. And being there before everybody else was kind of good in the fact that, I got to walk around and get some just terrible B-roll. I mean, you would think I'd be better at this by now. But it's also a terrible thing because it leaves me with an unoccupied mind. Now, I am one of these people who is unfortunately saddled with a great deal of anxiety. It's just a thing that I have to deal with. I've had it my whole life. You do what you can. Everybody's got something, right? But my anxiety manifests itself in my angry little gut. And it just is what it is, you know. So during this time, the imposter syndrome starts kicking in hard. I'm at this beautiful lodge. There's 9 brand new motorcycles out front, any of which are nicer than anything I've ever owned in my life. I get to put nearly 200 miles on one of them, being led by Jeff Stanton. And I'm here on invite as a content creator. What am I doing? What am I doing? I'm in over my head. And those are the thoughts I keep having. So my stomach's feeling a bit rocky as everyone starts rolling in. But we had such a great group of guys. Everybody was just so cool. Just really good guys. I met Fred, the support rider, who was just such a cool guy. And chatted with Jeff for a little bit. And then we all sat down for just an incredible dinner. This place was amazing. I could not believe the lodging, the food, just the entire experience was just so cool. Such an incredible. My stomach still wasn't happy though, and I knew I was in trouble. So then after dinner, we all hang out in the bar room for a little while and chat and just get to know each other. And again, just a great group of guys. I had so much fun up there. And after that, Jeff and Fred take us outside and just kind of go through all of the modes and settings on the bikes and get everybody just accustomed to what the bikes are and what they can do. Now, these bikes are far more modern than anything I have experience with. They have a whole slew of modes and settings and can do all kinds of different things. I kept asking where the Kickstarter was. Jeff finally just said, we just put it in Off-Road Pro and leave it there. No traction control, no ABS, just the bike. And that was music to my ears, honestly. So after checking out the bikes a little bit, we put the hockey game on in the theater room. And I got my laptop out and tried to do a little bit of work. But my stomach was still in a bad way. So I retreated to my room and thought maybe I'll just go to bed and sleep it off, get a good night's sleep, and hopefully wake up in the morning feeling better. And I knew that was wishful thinking, but I tried anyway. Now, I'll spare you the ugly details, but I'll say that I spent most of the night hugging the toilet and didn't get much sleep. At one point, I was laying on the bathroom floor saying, "Fine, do you want me to quit? Do you just want me to give up and go home?" You know, knowing full well there was no way that was going to happen, but, you know, I was trying to barter with with my stomach. Now, I got a little sleep, but I was still feeling rough in the morning. So I skipped breakfast, and when it was time to gear up, I'm getting my stuff on, and one of the guys says to me, "Man, you gonna make it?" I must have been looking rough still. And I looked over and I said, "Brother, if I ain't dying, we're flying." I wasn't gonna miss this for the world. Now, heading out to warm up the bikes, we realized it was going to be a cold day that day. It was 40 degrees and flirting with rain the whole day. So we get geared up and we head out, and we're just cruising down some gravel roads at a pretty chill pace, just getting comfortable with the bikes. And now, somehow, as the guest on this trip, I lucked out and got given the Scrambler for the day. Jeff mentioned that he liked to have the Scrambler around for people to ride and check out, just put a couple miles on here and there. But most people apparently prefer the Tigers due to the, heated grips and the heated seat and mainly the windshield. But to be honest, after he said you're going to be on the Scrambler, all I heard was a chorus of angels singing. I was so excited. Now, the Scrambler's a naked bike, but it's really sleek and beautiful. It's got a round headlight and, high pipes and dual rear shocks reminiscent of Scramblers from the 60s and 70s, and that alone was enough to make me fall in love with it. Sitting on the bike, the dash is minimal, but it's easy to read and real easy to switch between the modes. It's also basically got motocross bars and a seating position that's similar to a dirt bike, which felt very comfortable and familiar to me. The only thing that was really throwing me off was this giant metal cruiser-looking gas tank that was sitting in front of me. I mean, I got a 70s Honda Scrambler, and it's got a metal tank, but it's tiny compared to this. This thing looked like a sea turtle sitting there. You know, that with the size of the bike and the fact that, you know, most modern Scramblers have been a pretty big disappointment, I thought that this was going to be a pretty cumbersome bike. I really thought it was going to wear me out halfway through the day and just does not be, you know, not be the right tool for the job. But the bike, again, you know, far exceeded my expectations. It's as if anything I asked it to do, it replied in a very dignified British, "Right then," and just charged right into battle. So after some twisties and some gravel roads, we needed to stop for fuel, and you know, my stomach was still not doing great. It's one of those things where, like, while I'm riding, I don't notice it. I'm not paying attention to it. Like, you know, out trail riding, it's the rests that are painful, if you ask me. So Jeff's bike and mine were the first ones to get fueled up, and we pushed him off to the side, and he came up to me and goes, "How you feeling? You doing okay?" I said, "Yeah, you know, I think I'm getting there." He goes, "Okay, cool. Put out your hand." Put out my hand, and he fills it with trail mix. "Oh, okay, cool, thanks." And he goes off and talks to everybody else, checks on everybody, and he comes back up to me and he goes, "Put out your hand." And I said, "Oh, I'm good, thanks." And he said, "You skipped breakfast. Stop underachieving. Put out your hand." And I put out my hand. He filled it up, and we laughed, and I had another handful of trail mix. And Jeff was pretty keyed into how everybody was doing, and he was making sure you're okay and making sure everybody was having a good time, and it was just really cool. You could tell that he was there, you know, providing an experience, and he wanted everybody to have the best time possible. It was really cool. Leaving the gas station, we found our way out to some seasonal roads, which are, you know, basically 2 tracks. They call them roads, but they're unmaintained. A lot of them are washed out, and it's more like a trail between places than a road, really. And this is where the Scrambler really started to shine. I could not believe how much this bike rode like a big dirt bike. It reminded me of like an XR 650. It really did. It was easy to slide the back end around corners, and it was honestly pretty forgiving. There was a few times I thought I was going over the high side, but managed to bring it back. I just really could not believe how well that bike rode in the dirt. So we're all starting to find our pace, and you know, the faster guys are up front following Jeff, and Fred's in the back making sure that, you know, everybody's having a good time and no one's getting left behind, or, you know, he's helping with any issues that anybody might have. And now, I'm not going to say that I'm a better rider than anybody that was there, but I will say that I had more experience in sand than anybody else other than, you know, Jeff and Fred, of course. So that being the case, 2 things kept happening. Number one, I'd get behind somebody, and sand is tricky. Like, keeping momentum is really important. So knowing that, I would be keeping a faster pace than other guys, and I'd get behind somebody, and I'd want to keep that faster momentum up so I didn't get pushed around in the sand, and I would feel like I was pushing them and stressing them, and I don't want to make anybody ride over their head or, you know, stress anybody else out. So I would end up being like, "Okay, I'm coming around you," and I would pass them and head up further up the trail. And that would inevitably lead to problem number 2, which was the fact that I would just start riding. You know, I was having such a good time that I'd just get on the throttle and start riding and forget, like, hey, you should be, you know, filming other guys and getting some content. But it was just so much fun. So around noon, we rolled into the town of Cadillac for lunch, and by this time, my stomach was back and saying, "Feed me, I am hungry." And so we stopped at this little pub for lunch, and they just had excellent food. It was, you know, maybe it was just because I was starving, but that was a fantastic hamburger. So after lunch, we head out, and we hit some seasonal roads and some trails, and this is where the real challenges start. So we had a couple of stretches of pretty gnarly sand. It was pretty deep, and it was giving the guys some trouble. Again, if you don't have a lot of experience in the sand, it'll just push you around. This was another thing Jeff was paying pretty close attention to, though, because this was most of the guys' first real sand experience. So he took us through enough of it to, you know, get a feel for it without wearing everybody out and making it not fun. Jeff's on the ball, man. I was impressed with how attentive he was to the needs of the entire group, and how he really made the trip a good time for everybody. Getting onto some firmer ground, we found our next set of obstacles, which was down trees. The first one we came to, we all just pitched in, picked it up, and pushed it off the trail, and it wasn't that big of a deal. But moments later, we hit another one that was just a little bit too big to move. So we had to do a little bit of bushwhacking, and basically it was tight. So we had to set it up to where Fred stood over here in the bushes, Jeff stood over here in the trees here, and you had to go off the trail until you hit Fred, and then Fred would muscle you over to Jeff, and then Jeff would muscle you back, and then over onto the trail. And I mean, it worked, but it was definitely some muscling going on. Getting back out onto the trail, though, the next guy's a little further up, so I got to pick up the pace a little bit and hot dog on the scrambler some, slide it around some corners, and man, that bike is just fun. I think I want one. Yeah, wouldn't you know it, a minute later, there's another tree laying across the trail. So this one, there was a lot of room off to the right. It's pretty open, so we could make our way around it. But there was a couple of down logs that we had to go over. And again, though, the scrambler acts just like a big dirt bike. You know, you downshift, grab a little throttle, pop the clutch, and it just pops right over top of the logs, and away you go. So after a longer day of riding than I've had in a long time, nearly 7 hours of seat time and 194 miles traveled, we rolled back into lodge around 5 o'clock. I think we were all pretty wiped out at that point. I know I was looking forward to a hot shower, a good meal, and a good night's sleep. But we didn't have time for showers before dinner, so I was chuckling to myself, looking around the table at this group of crusty dirt bikers sitting down to a 4-star meal. Now, after dinner, since we still had some daylight, we decided to go out and shoot skeet. The ranch, I believe, has 16 stations to shoot clay pigeons from, and each one has a little covered shooting station and a couple of pigeon flingers. And it's all out in this just gorgeous, mossy green forest. It's a very, very beautiful place. Now, after a day of riding, putting nearly 50 rounds through a 12 gauge sounded like a little more than I wanted to put my shoulder through, so I opted to shoot some videos instead. We all went back to the lodge, and I got that long hot shower, and I slept like a baby that night. I hit the pillow and was done. So I got up early, and I went out and I got some more shots of the bikes and things, and I chatted with the guys as they geared up for their second day of riding. And I was a little bit jealous knowing that they were going out for another amazing adventure, and I was going to be heading home. But I'll tell you, I drove home with the biggest smile on my face. I had the most amazing time. As a rider, you have to put this trip on your bucket list. The entire experience is just incredible. From the food, the lodging, and most of all, the riding and the guys, just incredible time. You have to do this. And I want to say a huge thanks to Jeff for having me up and getting me grounded and out of my anxiety.